So, Revolution bars. Do you know the chain Revolution, Andrew?
I've vaguely heard of it, but I've never been in it.
Well, the kids call them Revs.
Do they?
It's got more than 50 bars and 20 pubs across the UK. Well, it's suspended trading.
They put the blame on Gen Z or Generation
Z
customers who are, what age are they?
Under 27, so 18 to 27s.
Shunning alcohol, turning away from late night drinking.
So is it Gen Z that are ruining our hospitality industry? To debate this, we're joined by William Lees-Jones, the owner of JW Lees Pubs in Manchester, the greatest city in the world, and the social commentator Joanna Jarjue. Good morning to you both. William, if we can come to you first, is it the younger generation that are just not upholding that proud tradition of hitting the pub like we Brits tend to do?
I think the younger generation view pubs and bars differently to perhaps you and I do. And so Revolution bars used to be our biggest customer. They actually set up in Ashton-under-Lyne in Manchester. And I remember at the time, it was when the Licensing Act changed how bars and pubs operated in the late night market.
OK, and Joanna, is that true that, is it your generation, I presume you're younger than 27, you certainly look it. Is the pub and a bar somewhere that you would want to go on a weekend night?
Well, I actually just missed out on being Gen Z, but thanks so much, Bev. I'm a firm millennial. I'm 30. But no, I've actually found myself not wanting to go to pubs and bars. And I think that it's quite unfair, really, to say that Gen Z themselves are the ones ruining hospitality. We're going through a cost of living crisis. I think everybody's cutting back. But also, the younger generation are always the ones that we always blame and say, oh, well, you should be saving for a house. It's harder now. Back in my day, blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't be buying avocados. Well, maybe you shouldn't be buying shots of vodka as well, and you should be saving for a deposit for a mortgage. I think that times are changing and they're doing it for their health, and I completely respect them for that.
Joanna, isn't it because quite a lot of the younger people, forgive me for treading into an area I know very little about, but spend more time on their phones and devices and gadgets, perhaps at home communicating with their mates, than they do having a couple of pints around the table in the pub?
No, I don't think so. I think that, Gen Z will still hang out, granted, they might sit in the same room and have their heads down on their phone the entire time, but actually they go to festivals, and I think that they just see going out as more of a treat. They might be on their phone filming it and TikToking it and Snapchatting it, but I think it's just not as appealing to them anymore. I think we all know the dreaded fear of when you wake up with a hangover. I call it hangxiety. It makes your mental health so much worse, and I think that Gen Z, we know that suffer from mental health a lot more than other generations at the moment, and it's just the healthiest thing for them to do, and I actually respect them for taking that route.
William, ironically, of course, our mental health from our generation was normally improved by a night out with your mates in the pub and maybe meeting a stranger and having a snog at the end of the night. They're missing out, this lot, aren't they?
I think they are, and I think that, we run pubs. We're an old established family business, and one of the big frustrations from government is that the physical landscape of being on the high street is expensive. And so whether it's business rates or whether it's VAT, it's really hard work. And I think that one of the things that the younger generation perhaps don't respect is things like, for instance, booking multiple tables, that people are thinking, we're going to go out on Friday, let's book 4 tables in 4 different places and only show up for one of them. And so you then get into a situation where you go, well, should we start taking deposits? And actually, you want to make it easy for people to come in and spend their money in the hospitality sector. But people not turning up, for instance, is just impossible to be able to run a business with that sort of thing going on.
I think that's unfair. How do you know that it's just Gen Z doing that? There's loads of people who book tables and don't turn up. I think that it's unfair to just say that it's just the younger generation who do that. Do you kind of take people's ages when you take bookings? And is there like a trend and a graph that you could kind of prove that?
Go on, William.
No, I don't. But I'm sort of double your age, which makes me feel terrified because my kids are your age. And the thing is that my kids do this and they think it's normal. And I think it's terrible. And so, yes, it is a different generational attitude.
It's something about thinking that relying on your tech, isn't it? Well, I've booked a table online, I'll just have it. They haven't had a conversation with a person. They haven't looked at somebody, a manager in the eye, and there's there's no connection, isn't there? And this lack of connection means that, like, say, kids just go, well, it doesn't matter, I've just booked a table. But why are they having to book tables in the first place, William? That would be my question.
Well, if you want the best table, you probably need to book it. And one of the things that we have in the UK is that we have really terrible weather. And so when the sun comes out, everybody wants to sit outside, but you can't take bookings outside. And so, of course, the walk-in market's really, really important. But if you want to go out for a nice meal at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, you want to be able to book a table. But I think that when you book a table, you have a responsibility to turn up.
Yeah.
OK, well, thank you both. It's interesting, isn't it? William Lees-Jones there, the owner of JW Lees Pubs, and social commentator Joanna Jarjue.
See, when I go to the pub, I just turn up at a pub.
Those days are sort of going, unfortunately,
Must be,
Andrew.
yeah.
I know, it's a shame, isn't it? I think we are losing something.
And I like to have a drink at the bar.
Me too. I
think
know.
It's really nice.